What is up, everyone? Welcome back to Base Damage. Hope you are all doing well. We're going to be taking a look at some Macross stuff again today. I know I just posted up the first impressions video, but I wanted to showcase a little bit more for what is to come. And for that, I was able to grab Soup from the Discord, and he's hopefully going to be able to help explain this a little bit better than I can. At least with our brain cells combined. So,
what is up, YouTube? This is NoSoupFaU2. Apparently, I got nominated as the resident Macross expert in the Discord, which I don't know how in the world this happened, and I'm gonna yell at Joker about this later. He's lucky that I'm actually building this deck, and I have 2 brain cells. Literally only 2 brain cells. We just rub them together, and I can figure out how this works. Right.
Pretty much. That's what I was like. Hey, I got like half a brain cell between me and Moroku. We can at least kind of start a fire. I don't know. But yeah, no, for real. I was talking to some people, and then Joker was like, "Oh yeah, if you want to look into Macross, definitely hit up Soup." And I'm like, "Really? Okay." And Soup's like, "Joker," without me saying, "Joker put you up to this, didn't he?" It was great.
Well, it's not like he wasn't over here like last night and was like, "Hey, did Cade contact you?" I'm like, "No, why?"
Oh God.
He was like, "Okay, he might." And I'm like, "Oh,
okay."
Right, now I understand what's going on. Okay.
The plot thickens, but
okay.
So for this, because Macross is dropping this week, going back to Joker for a second here. While we were at Duluth, Joker gave me a little bit of a heads up that this was going to be a little bit of a funky set. And when I was going through the cards for the first impressions video, I understand what he means. I saw some of the stuff and went, oh, I need to do something extra for this. I need to do a little bit more than just going through the cards. Obviously, that video still is getting posted, but I just wanted a little bit extra help with this. So regardless of whether you're the expert or not, I thank you very much for doing this last second here, bro.
Not an issue. And this is actually, I think, continuing because we reacted to, I think, some of the reveals.
Yes. So honestly,
this before,
it
and we were very surprised. Macross Delta being revealed back in August or whatever it was not on our bingo card
at all.
But there is a very, very good reason why with how this deck runs.
Yes. So a couple facts that have been stated to me for this. So I will also go ahead and state we're going to try to do a decent little breakdown of this. But if you are wanting to just get a little bit of a better summary, go ahead and skip further to the end. I'll put timestamp on screen now. Future me, good luck. And basically try to, if you just want to hear like a decent summary of it and like a recap at that point, we'll try to do so, but we are going to try to sit here and like walk through it and break down the key points of this deck and things you should look out for, or if you're playing against this, things that you probably want to run in tech in your deck if your set has those cards. So the first thing being Macross has 2 sets in JP, Delta, which is what we're getting, and Frontier. This is the deck list that won Japanese Nationals, and there are no Frontier cards. Is that because they can't be mixed, or is that just in general not needed?
I believe they're different traits, but also with the way this deck plays, it's a very specific play style. You don't actually need anything from Macross Frontier.
Okay, so basically, it's not like with SAO 10th Anniversary, where they were missing a whole other set and kind of missing a couple key cards, nothing detrimental, but they were still missing things. For this, it's not going to be missing a damn thing. So that's kind of the big difference here.
This is just build the deck out of
the premium booster go to town.
All you would need to do.
So that's kind of the big thing. And like I just stated, it won Nats in JP land. So all the more reason I feel this is just one that needs to be discussed. So I'm going to let you take the wheel in a second here and just go through the deck. Obviously, I have it pulled up here on the simulator just for ease of access because it's not on deck log just yet. So as of the recording of this, so it's just easier to do this. But yeah.
So I guess a quick note about the series as well. For those that don't even know what Macross is, because I mean we are both anime boobers, so we know a thing or two. But for other people, Macross has been a mecha/idol series that has been going on since the 80s. And they've gotten a number of series sort of since then. Macross Delta was the last one that I remember. This was back in like 2017, I think, when the show actually came out.
I think you're right on that. Looks great, honestly.
Yo, the animation is like really cool. It's still kind of that 2017 CG because now that I'm actually watching through it.
Yeah.
But most American people, especially boomers like us, will remember Robotech.
Yes. 100%.
On Toonami, which that was the Americanized version of Macross, and they kind of combined and edited some stuff around to make it like its own story.
Yeah, it was still good, but yeah, it was very much like you said, the American version. So
it was very good. Honestly, until Delta came out and it's like the set's coming out, I need to go back and watch Macross. The last Macross anything that I watched was Macross 2 Lovers Again, which was a movie.
Okay.
And this is back in 2005 because the Stars channel was playing it at midnight.
Yes.
But so it's been that long since I've kind of delved into the world of Macross. I had to go back and revisit stuff.
Almost 20 years later.
20 years later. What the series is best known for, honestly, is there is a huge rights legal battle going on with Macross, not even outside of the Robotech name, just who owns what in the series. And it's kind of within the last like couple years started to get a little bit of headway, but it's still ongoing about what company, what person owns it. You'd have to watch a whole separate video. There's a bunch of videos talking about the Macross legal battle. But it's very long, it's very ugly. And this show, at the time of us recording this, aka when this set is coming out, is not available legally anywhere in the United States. I think it is only available on Japanese Disney Plus, so you have to have a Disney Plus account and a VPN to access it, or you have to go pirate it off of a pirate website, or I think they sell Malaysian bootleg DVDs on eBay for like $15, which might be the route that I do to finish the series because I'm tired of using pirate sites that keep crashing. But that's me.
Very fair. That's
not condoning any of these illegal behaviors because we are good, upstanding citizens here.
Very much.
However, yes, we should dive into the deck because if you look at this deck, it is an absolute nightmare to look at as far as what most other decks look at or look like. So we're gonna start with the event. Okay. So there are two main components for this deck that you need to assemble these pieces to sort of enable the Wombo combo.
Literally.
The first one is the 1/1 event that I believe is called Flying Valkyrie. Valkyries are the idols,
basically.
The idol group in here. A summary of the show, there's like the bad song that like brainwashes people, and then the good Valkyries use their song to combat the bad song, and meanwhile like the Gundam pilots are all fighting each other, etc., right?
Nothing to do with Sympho gear, right?
It is absolutely nothing to do with Sympho gear whatsoever. It's absolutely totally so much Sympho gear. Oh my god!
It is so much. I'm sitting here going, what?
It's very, very Sympho gear.
So I'm like, oh no. So we're not getting Sympho gear in English Weiss anytime soon. This is the closest thing.
In English Weiss, yes, closely we're getting Sympho gear, but that's okay. So how this event works, I'm just going to kind of read it real quick.
Absolutely.
You have to have a music or a pilot character to play this card, and then you select one of the two following effects and perform it. First, you draw a card, or you send it to memory.
One or the other. It's not that it does one and then you send. It's not that you draw and then send a memory. You have to pick one or the other.
Yes.
Okay.
Then it has another effect where if there are two copies of this card in your memory, other copies get -1 cost.
Which is nice. Very nice.
So it's a 1/0, so you can play it for free, so it asks more like a cantrip, or just free send a memory. And then the actual effect that matters is the Climax Combo Recollection. If you have two Flying Valkyries in your memory, all of your Climax cards with Link trait, Link Super Dimension Venus specifically, in your Climax zone are considered to have the same names as all Climax cards in your waiting room that also have Link Super Dimension Venus.
Yes.
So we have to explain Link a little bit.
Yeah, I'm going to just glance through. I'm going to pass the mouse over the fact that there's 6 different Climaxes in this deck.
Yes, so what Link does, I think it was first introduced in one of the Grisaya sets.
Really?
And then
Okay.
and then I most know this from D4DJ because D4DJ had the Link Groovy build. But that was
Oh,
also not the build that I was playing because
okay.
we're mermaid stands, so we just live by shots. Um, your climaxes with Link basically have the same name as any other climaxes in your waiting room.
Hmm.
So the reason why this deck is playing 6 different climaxes is because each one of these climaxes, when you play another climax, it's going to count as all of the other climaxes that are in waiting room.
Yeah.
So this could potentially proc multiple different climax combos to go off at the same time.
Which is just nutty.
Yes. There's another reason why we're running 6 different climaxes, but we'll get to that with the Brainstormer as well, because that's the other half of this combo.
Yeah.
But basically, if you played, say you played one of the red, the red doors down, because they're climaxes that don't combo with anything initially.
Yeah.
But you have Link Groovy online, and you have the other climaxes in your waiting room, which the deck has a very, very convenient way to set that up.
Very easy.
That red combo will count as the name of any other climax in your waiting room. So you can have your level 1 combo going off, and potentially your level 2 combo, or there's a level 0 standby combo in here as well.
Yes.
All going off at the same time.
Which is just insane. Like, most anybody would look at this kind of deck list and go, oh, this was thrown together by someone who doesn't even know how a trial deck properly works. And it's, no, this is next. This is a very much a step above that.
Yeah. The thing is because Link is kind of new as far as Weiss mechanics go, because again, I think it's only been Grisaya and D4DJ, which I don't really think the Grisaya Link stuff did much of anything.
And we don't have that in English at all.
We don't have that in English.
Yeah.
We don't have D4DJ in English, and that Link stuff was also kind of underpowered.
Yeah.
On kind of the grand meta things. I think a lot of people look at the Link stuff. First off, it is very confusing as far as mechanics go, because
yes.
It's not your traditional climax lineup whatsoever.
At all. No.
And then it's like, oh, well, then what's the payoff to this? And then as you kind of go through the deck, you figure out what the payoffs are.
Yeah. This is a thing where I've talked about this before in other videos, where wanting to go for consistency, even I'm hesitant sometimes to run 3 different climaxes in a deck or something. Like, oh, let me do a 2-2-4 split or something. Like, just like me personally, I'm like, okay, I might do this depending on the deck if I feel I can get away with it.
Decks like that. Like, I only ever do that with like bar builds or gate builds. Like,
that's
climaxes
fair.
that inherently add themselves to hand or add other climaxes to hand to sort of make those combos more consistent. I know there was Oshinoko builds and some other builds that were trying the triple combo between like the level 1, level 2, and level 3 combo. But I'm like, this doesn't work because you have to still either run multiples of like the specific climax swap or hard draw into the climax. You have no way to get climaxes in hand, so it doesn't naturally work as well. But with Link, all you need to do is have any one of the climaxes, and then the climax that you actually want to engrave, have 2 of this event in memory, which is going to be basically most of your, or half of your early game is just getting 2 of these events set up into memory to make your Link combo go online. And then that's sort of what the early game focus is going to be. And then it's going to tie into the Brainstormer, which is also the other half of the deck that sort of makes the Link combo go.
All right. Do we want to go ahead and talk about that one, or do you want to bounce around anything else?
Let's go talk about the Brainstormer, because that is that's the other sort of half to understanding how this deck works.
Yeah. This is kind of nutty when I first read this.
Yeah. Where's that Brainstormer? Because there's a bunch of text on this thing.
Yeah, it's a wall. Like,
it's a wall. Okay, so it has the generic Brainstorm effect that is just pay 1, tap, flip 4, salvage a music or a pilot, and it's like, it's there if you need it. It's the first effect is what actually matters.
It's this wall right here.
Yeah, this wall right here. So what you do, pay 1, tap the Brainstorm, as you would a normal Brainstorm. If there are 6 or more cards in your deck or your library, You put all cards in your deck except the bottom 5 cards into your waiting room.
Yeah.
If there are, so if you're a Yu-Gi-Oh player out there and you're getting grass is greener,
Absolutely.
Flashbacks on this, it's literally that.
That is literally what someone said when I brought up this effect was, what grass is greener bullshit is this? Is exactly the words.
Then if there are 4 or more climax cards with different names from each other in your waiting room, this card gets the following ability until end of turn. At the start of your encore step, return all cards in your waiting room from your library and shuffle your library.
Mm-hmm.
If you have less than 4, say there's 3 or fewer climax cards with different names in your waiting room, this card goes to your clock.
Yeah.
So this, in a nutshell, you pay 1 stock, tap this, mill out your entire deck except for 5 cards, so it sets your deck at 5 cards, and then everything else goes to waiting room. Remember, we're running 6 different climaxes, and this is going to make sure that you have 4 or more climax cards with different names, because you should mill out all of your climaxes, or most of your climaxes, and then they would go to waiting room, and that would turn on the free fresh ability at encore step. So if you do this combo right, it's going to every turn you're going to be setting your deck to 5 cards, and then you're constantly going to be refreshing your deck during encore phase. So in theory, you should just rinse repeat this effect and never ever ever deck out your free freshing every single turn.
Which is insane just to think, like, if everything goes well, like you said, never taking refresh damage is just an insane, like, concept to some people.
Yes. So that's one of the benefits to this deck, is that's one of the payoff is this is single-handedly going to turn your Link Ruby combos online. There's a lot of tools this deck is running to access cards out of your waiting room, including your actual climax combos that we're running. And then you are mitigating damage by never, ever, ever taking a refresh point if everything goes well.
So, and there are things to watch out for, both playing this and playing against it. So something that Soup pointed out we'll get to later on. But this is a pivotal thing for the deck from what you have told me. So
yes.
Yeah, this is gonna be very interesting to watch people just go. I can't wait for someone to sit across from this and they go, okay, cool, I'm going to mill my entire deck until I have 5 cards left. And just the person go, what? Hold up, judge. You know, just like...
Yeah, and being that this deck isn't legal for the Philly BCS that's coming out this week because it's out the same week.
Yeah.
But this is expected probably to make a showing at all the other subsequent tournaments sort of after this one. Especially after this deck did go undefeated at Japanese Nationals, winning Japanese Nationals, like the highest level Weiss Schwarz tournament in the world.
Pretty much.
And that was probably the reason why, when we were watching the announcement, we got this set over some of the other sets that were on our bingo card that we were sort of anticipating.
I need to hit up Riaz to make a meme, because all I imagined was him going, nah, I'd win.
Yeah, right.
Like what?
But the Brainstorm that sets your deck at 5, and the Flying Valkyrie 1/1 event, that is the core of the deck. You need the 1/1 event to turn Link Ruby. That's your condition for Link Ruby.
Absolutely.
And then the 1/1 Brainstorm that's going to set your deck at 5 is going to make sure that all of your combos are turning on.
Pretty much. So
how are we going to go down the deck profile? Do you want to start at level 0 and keep going, or do you go with the climax combos?
Yeah, let's just start going down, because at the top of the simulator they start with zeros. So let's do that.
So we talked about the four brainstorms already. The next card we should probably talk about then is the 4 of I think it's Freya Mikimo.
I see. Yeah. It's the red 1500.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Freya Mikimo 1500. This is the sort of the main piece to help you get your Flying Valkyrie set up.
I see it now. Okay.
Yeah, a big wall of text here, but you can either, just to summarize this, you can either Rize 3 card. It's either a 3-card event Rize. So, or if you have a Flying Valkyrie in your waiting room, it's also going to bond to that. So you can discard a card to salvage a Flying Valkyrie back to hand.
Which is really crazy. So, I like that a lot. That's really cool, especially like if you mill multiple. If you see 3, you grab the one event, discard a card. Oh look, there's another in my waiting room. Let me go ahead and grab.
Yeah, it's also important because the secondary effect on this is a pay 1, discard a character to top check 3, add any card. So this could, and you can, stack which order you want this to. So you could potentially top check 3, add an event off of that, and then either do the Rize effect to dig 3 more cards in, or if you hit another Valkyrie that's in your waiting room, you can then grab one out of waiting room that way. So that's why this is one of the other 4 ofs, because this is the main card that you want to see at level 0, because it's going to be the main. It's a very overspec card. Like other cards
it's a
just
lot.
Sort of have one of these 3 effects just kind of on it already, and the fact that there's 3 different effects that all sort of do what I want to. This is a very, very overspec card.
Very much.
This is how you. This is your consistency piece to grab the Valkyrie. The Valkyrie events.
The thing that turns your Link mechanic online completely. So it all connects. So it all links together. You could say, okay, that was bad. Anyway.
Oh god. Okay, so what else do we have here? There's some generic cards here. There is a one-of copy of a Ricky, just if we didn't fetch a copy
right here?
of something in there. Yeah, it's a one-of copy of Ricky, and there's a 2-of copy of a Rico effect. Since we're playing out a waiting room, the Rico is probably a bit more valuable, and it also confirms the top card of the 5-card deck,
Pretty much.
The red, there's 2 red 2Ks. One is a on death Kome, so you can top check 3 to add a climax. That way you can just make sure you find climaxes to constantly keep slamming climaxes every turn.
And it doesn't really matter. Yeah, it doesn't really matter which one you grab. It's just grab A1, and if your combo's online,
it doesn't matter which one though. You probably want to get one of the 1/1s in here, not the standby if possible. Like standby, it's fine just to get a part out, but you want to slam the 1/1s for damage and power.
That's very fair.
The other one is a tech 1-of copy of one of the standby combos. It's not super important, but it does. It's just one more like kind of filter piece, where if you have the climax at the start of Encore phase, you can salvage a character and then discard a card, and then you can off this to save a character. So there's it gives you some extra waiting room filter on combo, and then it also is a saver, so you're able to kind of keep one of your pieces alive. Or you can have a really funny play where there's a bouncer in here at level 2, and you can sack the bouncer and then use the saver to encore the bouncer back and then sack it again. So you can potentially bounce 2 things.
Oh, that's hilarious. I didn't even think about that. Okay.
Yeah, there's some funny plays with this card. Most of the other builds that I've seen besides this winning national list weren't bothering with this combo or just making it its own standby deck. But being that the guy won nationals, he kind of sort of is the new standard.
Pretty much. That's fair.
That's what happens when you win national. You become the new standard.
Yeah.
The other red level 0 in here is the Shuffleback.
This one? Okay.
Yeah, it's on attack. On attack gives something 15, so it helps your pieces sort of scale over attack thresholds. And then it's a Shuffleback 2, and you don't suffer side attack penalty. I believe I was watching, I think Pittsburgh also did a breakdown on this deck a while ago. He was wondering, this is also a very not standard piece, but being that you're operating out of a 5-card deck, this has a lot of applications for shuffling back 2 characters. For one thing, it helps with cards that would go against you. We'll talk about like cards that would mill out your opponent. So it's shuffle back 2 that way. And there's also, you can play this card, shuffle back 2, and then if you have a search effect like a Ricky or like a top check 3, what's the top check 3?
The top check 3.
Oh no, it's just for climax is the event.
Oh, okay.
Characters. Yeah. Or like the brainstorm. If you need something back in your deck, or you want to like start triggering soul triggers, because you're operating on a 5-card deck. This helps you set what you want in your deck. So you could shuffle back something, either hope to trigger it, or use a search effect to go grab it.
So, like you said, with this being able to possibly help mitigate, one of the things you had told me was something that started being played a whole bunch against decks, like against this particular deck, because it's able to put yourself down to 5, were backups that make your opponent mill.
Correct.
So that's something people are going to want to start looking for. Future me, please put up just any example of a backup that can do that on screen. But yeah.
The Ruby backup from Sunshine is probably the most notable example, because that was the one backup that could mill the top cards of your opponent's deck. I believe most subsequent printings of that backup were milling the bottom cards of the deck.
I might be able to pull that up right now on the simulator real quick.
But when you have 2 cards in deck or 3 cards in deck where you set your deck to 5 cards, and you also have 3 swings in there with your checks, so you have 2 cards left in deck, and then you refresh. One of those backups is going to completely mess up the Link Ruby combo, because all your climaxes are going to go away and all your salvage effects are going to go away. A well-timed mill backup will mess it up. So the shuffle back also could potentially help mitigate that counterplay as well, putting more cards back in the deck.
All right, so that I have that on screen now, where it says when you use this card's backup, put the top X cards of your opponent's deck into his or her waiting room. X is equal to the number of music characters you have. So if you have a full field, you're like, cool, just mill out the 5 cards that you have like right now.
Yep.
So,
and most of those backups are bottom 5. Ruby was top 5 because she was a bit older than that, and that Ruby backup is actually pretty insane, especially because Sunshine is kind of sort of back in the meta with the School Idol Festival 2 release. But,
true.
It's around. But the shuffle back definitely has some nice utility that the winning list decided to run. You could probably tech this into something else, but with the amount of utility, it's like, hey, who am I going to argue with the national champion here?
No, for real.
And then the other level 0 is the last 4 of in the deck.
This one.
It's not overly impressive as far as the profile goes. It's the yellow Mikomo, can't side attack. It gets 2k power for playing the game, so it sits at 3-5. And then it is an updated version of like a coin flip.
Yeah.
I believe it's something similar, like Dragon Maid sort of had this similar profile. It's like an on-attack one.
Yeah.
So at the start of your opponent's attack phase, you mill 1. And then if it's a level 2 or lower character, which most of the deck is...
Yeah, I noticed that.
It gets on front attack, you can bounce this back to the hand. I was unsure why they were playing this card versus maybe like another option, but I think it was another deck profile told me that every single tech piece that Macross has, each one of these zeros, costs a stock. If you need to do any sort of plussing at level 0, it costs a stock. Brainstorm costs a stock, Ricky costs a stock, Ariko is just filter, so it's not really plussing. Something like that, right? All of that.
Yeah, there's like certain sets that have that issue.
Yeah, this is one of the non-stock costing potential pluses that this entire set has. So the national champion was choosing to run this just to generate some raw card advantage and have some sustained attackers at level 0, because you want to try to tri-field at level 0 in order to build up stock, because your super dimensional events are going to need a 1 stock investment each to play them until you reach that 2 threshold. So there's 2 stock accounted for right there, and the mill effect on the brainstorm is also 1 stock every turn. So you need to make sure that you're trying to generate passive stock whenever possible by just getting attacks in, whether it be fronting or siding.
Gotcha. You're trying to just immediately get that as soon as possible. Okay.
Yeah. And that's sort of it for the level 0 lineup.
I gotcha.
We go into level 1 now, right?
Sure.
Okay. We talked about the Valkyrie event already. The Hayate, we're gonna have to come back to this Hayate at level 3 because it really is part of the level 3 combo.
That's fine.
But it's a 1/1 assist that has an additional effect that supports the level 3 that this deck is running, and is also a choice trigger fixer, which is most of the climaxes that we're running are choices. I think 5 of the 8
Yes.
are choices. So it's just pay 1 when you trigger a choice. You can pay the choice out to draw a card,
which is nice.
So it's there if you need it. But the main part of this effect is the support for the 3/2 Hayate and Freya that we'll get to later.
Gotcha. So definitely come back to this.
Yeah, we'll do the climax combo last. Let me talk about the 1-0 and the 1-1, which apparently are also both from one of the Macross Delta movies.
Interesting.
So it's spoiler, which is why we have dark versions of the other characters that are in the deck. Because one's Machina and one is
Reyna.
Yeah, and Reyna. So that's why we have dark versions of his characters. These are 2, again, sort of non-standard cards. The national champion, remember, was running. But both are very, very strong, and I think a lot of other builds are also teching these at 1 as well. One is a level 1 Brainstorm, but it has 2 Brainstorm effects. One is your standard mill 4 salvage a character. The other one is a Brainstorm tap 2 that is a burn effect.
Which is just crazy.
Yeah, so this sort of gives the deck a little extra push for pay 1, tap 2, burning sort of either mid-game or just when you sort of want to. Another reason why that shuffle back is really good is you can put more cards back in your deck, afford to do a Brainstorm, so that way you can do the tap 2 Brainstorm. If you know there's a climax still left in there, you can Brainstorm it out, burn your opponent for some damage, and then it will refresh your deck back, and it gives you a bit more damage push with this Brainstormer.
Okay.
And also just another late game sort of pings if you need to do so. The other one is, note it has 2 soul. It is a 1/1 with 2 soul.
I saw that with several cards in this set. It was like random ones that just had 2 soul. There's like 2 or 3 of them.
The cool thing about this one is, well, the second effect is you can sack it to give something 2,500 power, so it's one of the on-field counters, which is pretty cool.
Always
nice. The first effect. On play from stage from hand, you can randomly choose 1 card from your opponent's hand, reveal it, send it to memory. Only until the end of their turn, it will go back to their hand. But the hand rip effects in Weiss are incredibly rare.
Yes.
Persona being sort of the only thing I know that has hand rip effects.
And that was just straight up like make your opponent discard stuff every time it like died or something, I think.
Yeah, it was the Akinari from Persona 3 that is forever banned.
Yeah.
Because it was just rip cards out of your opponent's hand.
Yeah, we're not getting that.
Persona 5 had a variation on this, but it wasn't really anything amazing.
Really? I don't remember this.
The calling card event.
Oh, yeah, the calling card. Okay, I remember that.
The calling card event, your opponent would choose 1 card in their hand, put it face down memory, and then would draw a card. So it would just, replace the card, and it was their selection, so it wasn't anything major. But there was a lot of mechanics in that Persona 5 set that could work with face down memory if like you direct attacked it and got canceled or stuff like that.
Yeah, it was like on a lot of different cards, because there was also just multiple calling cards in general. It was a neat little mechanic for that set. Yeah.
So it was supposed to be like the treasure, and then that's your opponent's treasure, and they had to steal the treasure. Less of like a super like hand disruption effect than just like another like resource to use for your own mechanics. Back when that set was like really good.
And like,
but this is like unconditional outside. Just it goes back to your opponent's hand. It's just unconditional. A random card goes to memory, and then it goes back to your opponent's hand at the end of the turn. If you rip out like a climax in their hand and they just kind of miss combo, this card is absolutely nasty. Do remember that this is still on a 1/1 that has to be played from hand, so there is a bit of a stock investment.
There is, but that is like so worth it. Like if you're able to, on that off chance that you hit something, it's worth it. Like
it's a very funny tech card, and remember this card also has natural 2 soul attacking, so you can get a lot of either rush damage or some very precise side attacking if you have this in climax and you're siding for 1 or 2.
Fun fact: with all the choice triggers we're running, it has a soul trigger, so you could grab it. I'm just pointing that out.
And it itself also has a soul trigger, so you can keep grabbing it back with your choices,
which is
sending it to stock. It's just it's an incredibly good tech piece.
Expect to see it.
Expect to see it in basically like every single iteration of this deck. And then the last level 1 is the level 1 combo, which is what's her name?
Kaname.
Makima. Kaname.
Yep.
Right. Because she's like the actual leader of Valkyrie, but like Mikumo is like the big diva, and then Freya's the one that we keep following around.
Yeah.
I'm still watching through the show, so I don't really know a whole bunch.
You're good. I'm still
so
doing
she's
same.
your sort of basic yellow power condition, which is during your turn if you have another character. She gets plus 3k power. She's gonna be sitting 6k base, and then probably 1k off a climax, so she'll get up to 7k without any other power buffs. And then on attack with one of the choice combos, I forget which one of the choices it is. The one with her face on it. It's the one with her face on it.
Is this one? Okay.
Yes. You can choose a cost 0 or lower character from your waiting room. Remember, we are going to have our entire deck in our waiting room because we're playing the Brainstorm. Place it on an empty front row slot on your stage, and then this turn you only get a maximum of 4 attacks.
Yeah.
And this can also call out another copy of itself. So what you want to do ideally is have 1 copy of this and 2 empty front row slots.
That's nasty that you can do like very little hand investment into that then.
Yeah, because you have to commit so much hand investment to setting up the link combo that this becomes very, very easy, and you just kind of rinse, recycle, repeat this throughout most of the game.
I didn't think about that.
Also is tying into level 2, which that's why I saved this for last, because we're going to segue into level 2 right after this.
That's fair.
So you would have 2 empty slots, 1 of this card. This card attacks, you call out another copy of this.
Oh, I already see. I see what you're talking about. Sorry, go ahead. I looked ahead. I used my future sight and the Clairvoyant CX. I went, I see the lines. I already know what he's going to say. Go for it.
So, and then the last card you're going to want to call out, going to level 2.
I see it.
Is a level 2 Mikumo combo. She has an early play condition in hand where if you have 5 or less cards in deck or 2 or less climaxes in waiting room, remember we're always going to have 5 or less cards in deck.
Yeah, you're going to have either or, which is crazy to me.
Yeah, just to make sure that you can get this combo off.
Yeah.
So she's going to get -1 level in hand, but we're always going to be playing this from waiting room because this is a 2/0 card.
Yeah, it's a cost 0.
It's a cost 0 level 2, which is also very rare.
Extremely.
So you can call this off the Kaname.
Which is
it's going to
amazing.
be 8/5/9/5 scaling, because during your turn it gets 6k power. She's base 2/5, so she'll be scaling 9/5. And then she has a climax combo with a different choice. Again, it's the one with her picture on it. But remember, all of these climaxes have the link super dimensional trait. So the Kaname combo and the Mikumo combo are both going to be proccing off of whatever climax you have out in play, as long as you have the corresponding climax in waiting room.
Exactly.
So you'll get the Kaname combo off, the Mikumo combo off, maybe the standby combo off as well if you leave that 0 out in the back row.
There's a very good chance of it. That's the thing. So.
And then how this, because this Mikumo combo is very, very important to, like, this is your main advantage. The Mikumo gives you attackers, the Kaname gives you setup. What the Kaname does, what the Mikumo does. Wait, let me make sure I said that right.
You're good. Shifting from one to the other, I understand.
Yeah, Kaname gives you the attacking setup. Mikumo gives you the actual hand advantage back. What the Mikumo does is it has the fever condition at the start of your encore step if the opposing character is either reversed or the slot is empty. And remember, she's attacking for 9/5. You can choose 2 music or pilot characters, aka every card in the deck, from your waiting room and add them to hand. So you sack the climax to salvage 2 characters from waiting room.
Yeah.
Again, remember your entire deck is in the waiting room.
It's like it's like Zek and Yuki back in the day of, I can purposely run single copies of stuff because I know I'm just able to grab it.
Yeah,
with
you
the
can
engine,
you can just toolbox out your entire deck at this point.
Yeah.
But what you're going to want to grab is probably another copy of that Kaname to keep the train going.
Yeah.
So you always have 1 Kaname, and then whatever other kind of tech that you want to grab, like the bouncer or the level, or you can start setting up for level 3. the other cool thing about the timing of this, and this is the big wombo combo, on the level 0, the free fresh effect also happens at Encore Step.
Yes.
So the Mikumo and the free fresh Freya, is it Freya? Is
the free fresh is Reyna.
Reyna, yeah. The free fresh Reyna, those effects happen at the same time. So you can sack the climax off so it's in your waiting room.
Exactly.
Salvage 2 characters out of your waiting room, and then the Reyna will proc to take your entire deck and put it back into your deck. And you have now a new fresh deck with hopefully most, if not all, of your climaxes back in your deck.
Which is just like crazy to think of, like, oh, every turn I'm refreshing, quote unquote, not taking a damage, and then going, oh, look, like, 7 are going back in, for sake of argument.
Yeah, so this is like a very, very poor explanation of the bread and butter combo and the big payoff to the Dimensional Venus link.
Which is, but it's crazy. I like this.
Yeah, if you get this set up, you have 2 Venuses in memory. You have the Brainstorm mill out effect, and then you just basically are able to full field attackers off of the Kaname and then end on one of the Mikumo to salvage 2 characters in waiting room, and then your entire deck gets refreshed back and you're going back in with a fresh deck.
That's
again
nasty.
Never ever taking any refresh damage in the process. So the deck actually plays a little bit like the last deck that I think I played that was anything close to this was the Tokyo Revengers deck, where it just plays so differently than your standard Weiss deck.
Yeah.
In that, like, you'll get in a deck state where you'll never take damage. You probably don't want to clock and draw to a point because you keep salvaging 2 off of the Mikumo, and so you don't want to actually clock and draw after a while because you want to try to win the damage race against the opponent.
Yeah, sort of short of making certain that you get a climax in hand. But I mean, if you get the climax in hand, it doesn't fucking matter.
Yes, which is also why we're running like Rize effects, top check Komeis, stuff like that, just to make sure that you always have one climax in hand to slam down and constantly link Ruby. And you're going to keep doing this combo until basically you get to level 3 and you want to finish off your opponent.
Which is dumb. Like you said, you could do this as early. You could start doing this at level 1. So 2 whole levels of more than likely repeating this combo over and over, setting up, basically crafting your hand exactly how you want it.
Technically, you could start doing this as early as level 0. Actually, no, that's a lie, because you have to have the Venus stuff in there.
If you stand by,
I forgot that. Like, you could stand by out the 1-0, but you still have to have the Venuses.
Yeah. So if you don't have this,
like
you
level,
can't.
Yeah, but like you spend your level 0 to basically set up your level 1. And then you do your big level 1 Wombo combo, and you just basically keep doing this as much as possible.
Yeah.
The other cool thing is the way that your deck state is going to be, you'll have no cards in waiting room. You'll have a fully refreshed deck. You let each one of your 1-0s and 2-0s die, and then they'll go to waiting room. So that way, when you play down one of your other Kaname copies, you already have, even if you don't, like, without the mill, your Kaname and your Mikumo are already going to be in waiting room, so you're always going to have those in waiting room to grab.
I got you.
It lessens the variance with the mill.
Very much so. Like I get that, but at the same time, just being able to just do that, just keep it on. Basically, have. I guess not an infinite loop, but just being able to loop like that every single turn over and over.
Yeah,
and over is just crazy.
It's just as long as you're able to slam climax and you have the setup, you can do this every single turn until your opponent is dead, or you're at least you get the level 3 and you can pivot to the level 3 combo.
Yeah. So. But moving on.
So being that this is sort of the bread and butter combo, the level 0 lineup is tailored to supporting this. The level 1 lineup is tailored to supporting this, which leaves level 2 and level 3 rather light, since you're going to be dedicating so many resources to setting this up.
Yeah, I noticed that, like, something you don't see a lot anymore is just these few level 3s in a deck. You're typically seeing, like, 6 to 8 or so, but there's only like 5 in here, which is like something you just don't see.
Yeah, because most sort of standard decks are going to be running multiple different level 3s, like a level 3 finisher combo, some early plays that are coming down at level 2,
Any
and
support.
some other tech level 3s like stock swap, etc. Like a lot of toolbox level 3s. But this deck is not going to do that.
Yeah, your toolbox is level 2 and lower, basically.
Yeah, the only other level 2s that we're even running, one is what's her name? The pilot.
Oh, I see her. It's the
Mirage.
Mirage,
yeah.
the backup.
She's like the daughter of, I think, one of the, I forget, it was one of the original Macross characters or one of the Frontier characters, but she's like their daughter, and then she's sort of like she's not like the Hayate is like the newbie hotshot. Macross is just Top Gun, okay? Macross Delta is just Top Gun.
You're not the first person to say that to me.
Yeah, right. She's like the no-nonsense pilot that like has to train Hayate, and they absolutely have sort of a thing for each other because they're complete opposites, but I'm only like 6 episodes into the series, so I don't know what happens.
You're good.
But she's sort of the other non-Valkyrie main character. It's Hayate and her, and the other guy is the pilots. But the only reason why I think he's running this back up, because again, your yellow, the Freya, the Mikumo and the Kaname are sitting very, very small on your opponent's turn, so you're never, ever, ever going to back up to save them.
Yeah.
What this is going to do, and this is a Neg Soul counter, mind you.
Yeah.
The only reason why they're probably playing this counter is because it's a sack counter.
Yeah, to stop on reverse effects.
Yeah, it's able to stop on reverse effects, which is very, very relevant.
Yeah.
And then the other level 2, I talked about this previously with the Saber. It is a 2/1. On play, you can discard a card to salvage any character, so you just replace a card in hand with a character in waiting room. And then you can off this card, this 2/1, to bounce a character. You can combo this with the standby 0 to off this, and then use the standby 0 saver effect to off the 0 to play this back out. And then potentially do it again to bounce 2 characters. And the reason why that this is, the reason why that this is super important outside of certain matchups that have sort of on-field effects like Neg Soul effects or like Yuji from Shana. The real reason why this is super important is the Mikumo. The Mikumo 2/0, the Fever condition.
Yes.
This card is only attacking for 9/5 with the 1k1.
Yes.
Off of Climax. That's going to power scale over most level 1s. It's not going to power scale over the very prevalent 2/1 walls like Murin,
or even 2/2 like standby targets and stuff like that.
2/2 standby targets, 3/2 early plays, all that are going to be well over 10k. You want to keep using the bouncer to open up a lane, and then make sure you keep calling the Mikumo in that open lane so that she is always going to have her Fever condition to go off.
Yes. So for anyone who doesn't know what Fever is, Bang Dream was the first one that I remember doing it. Basically, for the effect to continue and go off, the character across from her either had to be reversed or it had to be an open lane. So being able to use the bouncer to fulfill that condition is just amazing synergy with how that pops off. It's just crazy to me.
Yeah, Bang Dream gave it the keyword name, which is because it was Fever, whatever it was.
Like there were other cards that had like similar effect. A Joker from P5 had that basically.
Yeah, they have printed that condition on a lot of things, especially like level 1 combos and stuff. But without the Fever
trait,
like the Fever actual profile text.
Yeah.
But it's still the same condition.
Yeah, same condition. Just like when we refer to it as that, that's what we're referencing is Bang Dream shenanigans.
Yeah.
So
Bang Dream shenanigans is right.
So it is always a thing. But
and then to round out the deck, there's 5 level 3s. There is a 1 of 4 or more early play that is just an on plays from stage heal 1, and then you can give itself like 2k power. So it's really just there as a
extra little healer, just if you need, basically.
If you're stuck at level 2 and you kind of need to like heal down a little bit, you just grab this card off the Mikumo, play it, and then just sustain at level 2 until you're set up for level 3.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to want to go into the level 3 climax combo, which is Freya and Hayate. And this card is absolutely nuts because this is power crept Karumi.
Which is saying something.
This is saying something. This card is actually it reads insane, which is why this is the finisher of choice for this deck.
Yeah, it's really strong in general, but like you said, the synergy with the other 1/1 Hayate, when I realized all that clicked off on my head, I went, oh, this is dumb. So
the thing is that it only has the climax combo line of text. On attack, if
alive no Inori no Uta.
That's the other. It's the other choice combo that has the 2 of them on there. It's the one of choice that's in here. That has Hayate and Freya on it. If you have that climax in play, again, it's really any of the climaxes, just as long as that climax is visible to you and your opponent.
Yeah.
Because of how Link Ruby is. You can choose one of the following 3 effects and perform it. Draw 1 card and heal 1. Your opponent chooses 2 climaxes in their waiting room, returns all cards other than the chosen card, and shuffles the library. And this gets 5,000 power. So nuts. It's a FumiO2.
Oh my god.
And then it's also deal 2 damage to your opponent.
Yeah. So you pick one of those 3 effects. But
technically,
there's more.
There's way more. So going back to the 1/1 like I promised.
Yes.
This 1/1 Hayate, the level assist, has another effect that specifically supports that Hayate and Freya. Where at the start of climax phase, you can pay 1 and discard 2, meet the condition of having 2 or more characters, and this card gains that the Hayate and Freya's climax combo, you basically perform one of the effects that was not chosen, so you perform 2 effects.
So you get to pop 2 of them, can't stack them, but you only have to pay the Hayate combo once. You don't if you tri-fielded the Freya Hayate, you only need to pay the 1/1 Hayate 1 time, and you can do that with all 3.
Yes.
Okay, so I was making certain I was reading that correct.
Yeah, and you would be able to do it for each one. You just had to just pay it once.
So it's like, okay, let's go ahead and Fumio you, then burn 2, then heal 1, burn 2, heal 1, burn 2 off the others.
Yeah,
because
it doesn't target the Hayate and Freya. It's just if your Hayate Freya uses the effect, you perform 1 more effect. There is also a condition, because I was about to say, this doesn't read this way, but it absolutely has this clause in there.
Fair.
The only other condition on this is that you do not have another copy of this Hayate in play.
Just the 1. But that's fine. Honestly, you're golden with that.
Well, because if you had 2 of these Hayates out, you could potentially do all 3 if you're able to pay everything.
Exactly. So
but Hayate has the condition where you cannot have the Hayate out.
Just the 1 can't get off all 3 effects, but even just being able to get off 2 of these, or be able to pop 2 of them and just go to town is crazy.
Yeah, so just remember that, ideally, after doing the Mikumo level 2 combo a couple times, you'll have 3 of these in hand.
Easily. And
then your finishing turn is going to be Fumio, burn 2, draw 1, heal, burn 2, draw 1, heal, burn 2, for
nothing.
Basically, no cost.
Yeah, the only cost you paid was the pay 1 pitch 2, basically. Other than summoning the cards, obviously. But then you're drawing.
Yeah, other than just summoning the cards out themselves. But basically, you tri-field this, and
it is
your
so
opponent
free.
is going to have it's a very free card. I think I was also seeing another build that there's other level 3 combos.
Yeah, I noticed there was more.
But Pittsburgh pointed out that the other level 3 combos are Mocha effects and stuff that just confirm damage, where this Hayate and Freya is going to machine gun push damage.
Yeah. That's a very good way of putting it.
Yeah, because the Mikumo level 2, if you look on Encore decks, it also says it double combos with a Freya level 3. That is the Star-Lord, pay 1, pitch 1, top check 3 Mocha.
Let me see. I'm just going to pull it up for
effect.
the Dark Freya? No, you said it comboed with another one, so hold on.
It combos with another level 3 Freya that's a Mocha effect. So that is another sort of variation to this build. and it already combos with a combo that we're running, so we don't have to put in another climax in here.
Oh, I see it. The Ikanai board. Yeah. Song is Energy Freya. I found it. Okay.
Yeah, it's like a pay one, ditch one, Mocha 3.
Yeah.
Which is like fine, but like in
There's
my
no
experience,
reason.
and yeah, with just me and my experience with Mocha effects, is the card itself might as well read top check 3, take out 1 climax, and your opponent's going to cancel on 3 or 4.
Yeah.
But it's also very good. It's a lot better the later in the game your opponent is at like 3-4, 3-5, and you have to do a certain specific amount of damage.
That's fair.
But the Hayate and Freya, with how just over-spect this combo is, how free this combo is, the damage push that this is going to give you. And remember, there's also a Fumio effect attached to this too, so your opponent's compression is going to get...
Yeah, they're like it's gone.
Yeah, it's going to get wiped.
Like, oh, you better pray you haven't triggered like more than like 1 climax, and like, oh my goodness.
This is like the best finishing combo in this set. This is probably one of the best finishing combos in the game, with just how much this card does.
I can see someone arguing that and being like, yeah, no, I see it. Like, yeah. Hell, it gets big too.
It's very nasty.
Yeah.
So that was basically the Macross Delta deck, like the winning Japanese Nationals Macross Delta deck in about as much of a nutshell as I can make this deck to actually make everything make sense.
Which is very fair. So I realize, once again, like, I don't mind running longer on these. I basically can call this a podcast episode at this, which is, I don't even mind. That's totally cool. But yeah, so, I mean, it is insane. But yeah, go ahead.
And we yapped about FaGo before talking about the deck profile.
We went ahead.
How much longer would it be if we did that?
We went ahead and got that out of our fucking systems, like 100%. Right. So it is crazy. But yeah, I like the weirdness of it, but the specifics of it too. I really, really like unique things like this. So if I see it,
there is no other deck in Weiss that's going to play like this that's out right now.
Mm-hmm.
Again, the only comparison, and it's still an apples to oranges about how the deck plays, was Tokyo Revengers.
And that's fair.
How that was another deck that played so differently than other Weiss decks did. That if you gave it to a newbie player, they're like, "What the heck is this?" And then people figured it out, and it's like, "Oh, yeah, okay, this is nuts." And then people figured out that deck, and then that deck completely fell off. But
so, yeah, so it is something to watch out for, most definitely.
Yeah. Did you want to talk about some of the weaknesses to this deck? Because there's a few glaring weaknesses with this deck. We talked about the one already.
So we mentioned the backup level 2.
The counterplay to this deck is a mill backup. So if you know that you are going to a tournament and someone is playing this deck, either it's a locals or you're going to a bigger like regional level, and again after the Philadelphia regional that's coming up, this deck is probably going to be represented a fair bit, which
I'm okay with. Like, honestly, I'm totally fine with that. So
you could potentially see, kind of like how everyone is making sure that they tech bounce into their decks just to respect the Shauna matchup.
Absolutely.
People will be teching in mill backups into counteracting this matchup, because that will absolutely disrupt this deck completely.
Which is absolutely crazy. Like, the
other weaknesses to this deck is because this deck is so wombo combo based, and it's going to take you a lot of stock to sort of get there, because you're going to have to pay 2 stock for 2 events. Pay 1 stock every turn to keep doing the
brainstorm, and
to keep doing the brainstorm's effect, so your Link Ruby's always online. And then whatever other like pay 1 for the assist, pay 1 for the hand rip, pay 1 for the bounce, pay 2 for the level 3s, pay 1 for some of the like the Ricky effects or something like that.
It's a lot.
The top check 3s. It will cost a lot of stock, so you have to play very aggressively early game to try to generate a lot of stock early, and then just kind of sit on looping the 1-0 and 2-0 combos after that until you're ready to get to level 3. But there's a lot of setup in accumulating the pieces together to get your deck online. Where then if you don't see your pieces and aren't able to get your Link Ruby combo online, your deck is not going to do anything, or it's going to function incredibly suboptimally.
Okay.
And then especially if you sort of get into a matchup like Cats is like the classic level 0 rush matchup, where if your opponent's just going to catch you from 0 to 2, and you're going to
you haven't done any
setup.
To
get your setup, you're in trouble.
Very
a
much.
lot of trouble.
So
that's why no one likes Cats.
It's very much similar to it just the way you described it in terms of you're trying to get a specific setup makes me think of Overlord wanting to get its particular setup and not get rushed to get like pushed super. It wants to, like, Overlord wants to stay at lower levels as long as humanly possible to just ruin your day. And
Overlord is another deck where the entire deck is streamlined around to the 3/2 Ions combo, and then you live or die off of resolving that 3/2 Ions combo.
Pretty much.
And then you run the Vampire Bride just to be like, hey, I want to be set up as much as possible, and then I'm going to turbo with the Vampire Bride Shaltier package to go to level 2, drop the Ions, and then start getting the Ions going. That's why I also said that this deck was very similar to how Tokyo Revengers play. Not so much on what the deck is trying to do with stock compression and everything, but you want to stay at level 0 as long as possible to get your setup pieces. And then where Tokyo Revengers wants to stay on dual laners for as long as humanly possible until they are ready to pop off their level 3 combo, you want to stay on the Kaname Mikumo combo for as long as humanly possible until you can tri-field the 3 Hayate Freya combos and put a 1/1 assist down in the back row to make sure that they're proccing twice.
Absolutely. It is. So yeah, it's a very interesting setup. It feels like it's going to get to that point fairly... Like, it seems to have all the tools to get to that. It just feels like time's an issue in that regard.
It has a lot of... Again, the level 0 Freya Mikumo is incredibly overspec'd for all of the effects that it does.
100%.
But this set sort of needs cards like that to sort of get their pieces.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, the other sort of downside to not so much the deck, but the set as a whole, which I don't know if you noticed in your set breakdown for this, is I think that because this is a premium booster, it's a smaller set, and it's not really running a lot of the older Frontier stuff. I think they're still traded the same, but I'm not exactly sure.
More than likely, I don't remember.
I think it's all music. But the set does not have things like a stock swap.
Yeah, it does not have that.
And some of the other sort of more modern tools that other sets have.
I noticed it. So I think it had an anti-change, but I noticed they aren't running it in this.
Yeah, because and I was talking about this with Joker about anti-change backups.
Here we go. I found it. Okay.
It has an anti-change backup. I guess it's there if you want it, but with all of the resources that you have to put into just doing your plays, and again, you're not going to be beating over a whole lot of anything. The cost for playing anti-change is most of the time not worth it than just replaying your combo again.
Gotcha.
So if you have to, is it like a pay to discard anti-change?
It's a pay to sack a character. So
it's a sack to, yeah. But then you have to. It's still a pay to that you otherwise would not want to do because you always have to pay one for the Reyna Brainstorm plus whatever else you have to do. You could run the anti-change as a tech option just to scare your opponent, but it's like a card that you never ever really want to actually resolve because then you're going to put you behind.
I noticed also for a slightly cheaper cost, because as opposed to paying 3 total with this backup of pay 1 and then pay 2, in addition to sacking a character, there is a 1/1 Kaname reverser. So that's a cheaper option in my mind, but once again, it's not really something.
It's a cheaper option, but I think most modern decks kind of have gotten away from that profile anyway. Also, you just run the 2/1 bouncer, and that's going to take care of all your problems.
Pretty much. Honestly, that's a very fair point. This You could almost view the 2/1 Mikumo as your anti-change to a degree, assuming it doesn't have hexproof, sure.
Yeah, so if they have like a wall out there, like a 3/2 wall, like regardless of what it's sitting at, you just run the bouncer, deal with the problem, and then it opens up a lane.
And just,
then
there you go. Then
so
you're off to the races.
So you don't even need the anti-change anyway.
Okay. That's understandable. Like, it's nice in the... Depending on what you're up against, I can understand it being very useful. Like, oh, you're trying to stop your opponent from getting a climax combo off or something. I've won games because of that kind of thing, you know. So I get that, but
yeah,
in like you say, in the long run, it feels like it's too. It feels like being able to paying that much stock is too much. From what you've described, I can agree. I can agree with you on that.
Yeah, because this deck is super tight on resources. The pay 3 for the anti-change. You have to have a wealth of stock to be able to do that, which this deck is not going to have with how much investment you have to do every turn into just getting your pieces.
You're paying out every turn,
the other
basically.
thing, too, because I was also talking about this with Joker yesterday for our Philly testing. A lot of the meta, because, again, this was a deck taken into a specific meta back in July, and then it's going to be a deck taking into another specific meta when it becomes legal in America for their tournaments. And I feel the anti-changes are not exactly the meta call right now.
Gotcha.
Because a lot of decks will get around it, and some decks are only playing one-ofs of an early play anyway, so like Slime is is not running high counts of early plays because because of the mirror and 2/1s, you just play the mirror and 2/1s, and the anti-change actively doesn't do anything anyway.
Pretty much. I mean,
so
even the hexproof kind of stops a lot of that anyway. So that's fair.
And so then you have the hexproof stops that. Ainz also has plays around it with its own sort of hexproof as well, and other matchups like just don't really care as much. And then so you run the Neg Soul counter instead. It's just like you don't die as faster, so you can control how much damage, but it's also just a pay 1 sack, so you can do that just to avoid an on reverse effect if you're going up against like Hololive with the Mume top end that needs a reverse, or something else that needs the reverse. You can sack your character to get around that. So
that's fair.
The Neg Soul counter is sort of the cheaper alternative to it.
Very much so. More denying your opponent's stuff as opposed to, oh, this is a threat to me.
Yeah, it's more managing your own resources for the same thing rather than, oh, my opponent just has like a wall of standby stuff out there.
Yeah.
You have other tools in the deck that can sort of get around that. Again, the bouncer sort of answers everything that you need. As long as your Mikumo 2/0 can meet its fever condition, that is fine, which a 1/1 reverser is not going to help that because that has to be an attacker.
That's a fair point, yeah.
And it also cannot be called off of Kaname. And then like the anti-change backup, because it's going to cost so many resources that you're not going to be able to potentially do your standard line of plays next turn.
That's fair. Okay. Putting that into perspective, that's a very good point. I didn't even think about.
Yeah.
Okay. No, very, very interesting. I like seeing unique decks like this because it is like a different approach. It is a different mindset that you kind of have to go in with. And, like, especially when you're having to manage all that different stuff, like all the different stuff you've described. So, okay. Joe's gonna hate me. I'm gonna want to playtest this against him so much on the fucking simulator.
Right. And again, like there is variation to this build. There's a shell that you have to run, but then there is some variation that you can do.
Yeah, I can already see some wiggle room. So yeah.
Yeah, like there's some wiggle room in here. There is the other level 3 finisher that you can run. You can still run the Hayate Freya finisher, and then run the Freya level 3 sort of alongside that. I've seen builds run both, and just say which one do you need at the time.
Yeah, because once again, like you said, the all the climaxes count as the same thing, but you said that one comboed off the same one. It's Ikanai Borderline.
It combos off the same one as the Mikumo, so you don't have to adjust the climax count at all.
Really don't. So
to run it.
There you go.
So like there's a variation right there.
And the link thing. So I mean, you're gonna have it anyway.
Yeah, and then other things like the shuffle back, the standby combo, your non-stock costing level 0. You can adjust some of the ratios around, but again, like we're looking at the guy that sort of won the top tournament in 2024. So this is the standard build right now because he's the guy that won with this.
Gotcha.
And this is anything that's deviating off of this is just a deviation off of this.
You could basically see this as this is what people are going to be net decking, but there can be variations. So that's
correct, fair. Including yours truly. I'm going to start with this build. I'm going to start with this build, and then if I find that there's tech pieces I want to try or stuff I want to shift around, then I'll do it as I get testing in. But this is fair. This is why you want to do the video. This is sort of this is the best base to start with.
Absolutely,
is the guy that won.
What better to like, I always state this in any of the deck profiles that I make of, hey, there's always these other options you can change. Just use mine as a base, use mine as just a skeleton or basic floor plan, and then make your changes from there, decide what you want. But this is going to be the floor plan. This is going to be the skeleton of what you're going to be working with. And if this is a deck that tickles your fancy and you want to make your opponent question why you're running 6 different climaxes, this is the way to fucking do it. Like 100%.
Yeah. That's correct. And it's especially with how this deck is, and how sort of unique it is. Like, again, we are Americans and we have clairvoyance EX. We say this every video.
Except for Nikkei, we're
except for Nikkei, but like, or like English exclusives, but like stuff gets figured out real quick.
Yeah.
But any player looking to get into the set, if they want to have a good base, it can just go on the internet, look at a Japanese result, find a shell. There's a bunch of different other Encore decks and the actual Bushiroad deck log. There's a bunch of sample builds out there to start with.
Absolutely.
But sort of as someone gets more experience with a deck, if they want to dedicate themselves, like I'm the type of player that switches around between decks all the time. But if someone wants to just play a couple decks, play this deck, especially with a set that's a deck that's unique as this,
very,
it's going to take a lot of player skill. Like it's the base amount for the setup, but a lot of those tech options, that is up to player skill and player experience with playing the deck.
It's going to feel the way this is described, I learned using the simulator. I learned how to play like the 10th anniversary Alice deck. And it's like, there's a certain way that you have to set it up, that you have to manage. But then once you get that, like rolling it, in terms of the setup, being mindful of how much you mill, what you're milling, setting and doing the setup for it is just as important as when you get to go wombo combo off at the end. So
correct. Yeah, and again, it's going back to Tokyo Revengers. I keep going back to that deck for some reason. I don't know why, but like
it's a fair comparison. That's fair.
Yeah, you can find a winning Tokyo Revengers list no problem. But with how different that deck runs, with how different this Macross deck runs, if you just give it to like any sort of newbie player and it's like, here's the deck that won nationals, like you should be able to find with this, they're going to struggle immensely because they are not going to know what the play lines are, what the combos are, and what the priority is, much less what they should or shouldn't be doing in certain situations.
This is going to take practice.
It really comes down to practicing the deck, playing the deck, and I know we talked about this sort of, I forgot it was before recording or at the beginning of the video at this point because it's been a little while.
It has. But, it's all good.
This deck winning nationals absolutely put this set on sort of everyone's radar.
Yeah.
And this deck gained a lot of popularity since then. That's probably why we even got this set in English, because it won Japanese nationals. So it's like, hey, here's a set that people will like, and it's actually pretty good. So there you go. But where was I going with that?
You're good. He has to collect the thought.
It just went away.
All the stuff leading up to the popularity of it.
Yes,
and everything. Yeah.
kind of like what we were doing with predictions for the BCS season.
Yes.
And if you remember, I called that it would take one specific guy piloting Shauna for that deck to actually make a top. And guess what happened? Didn't say I didn't want to call it, but I called it. This is one of those decks that is very, very up to the pilot. Again, there's a Macross pun in there. And it's going to take a player that has a lot of experience with the game and also a lot of experience piloting this deck to have this make a very, very good showing. Like, I don't believe that this deck is going to just, like, this is the new top deck. This is going to replace Slime and Seven Deadly, and it's going to put Hololive as Misery, and Overlord is dead. And
no, we're not trying to doomsay or anything of that nature.
Yeah, it's just not that, but it's going to be a deck that someone who is very knowledgeable of their deck and what they're going to go up against is going to take this deck and probably get a top.
It's like with Kokurin being like the Adventure Time player. Like, he knows it inside and out and knows all the matchups for it.
Yeah, and there are a lot of very dedicated Macross players out there, because again, this is a series that's been going on for what year is it? 40 years. It's been going on for about 40 years now. Which is even on top of all the legal battles. There's a lot of Macross fans out there.
It's kind of insane that we got this to begin with, like you said, with all the legality stuff. Like, again, I'm
very surprised we got this. This was a wishful thinking on my bingo card, but I was expecting
something else.
Some of the other things like Bunny Girl or Quint or Rurouni Kenshin at the time to get announced before this. And the fact that we even got this, remember, not legal in the United States anywhere.
It's kind of crazy. So
yeah, it's kind of crazy. So
show them love and support. Pick it up.
Yeah, so maybe it means it'll actually show up on streaming somewhere, and I can watch it legally.
That would be kind of cool if because of that, like, a demand for that came up. I'm not saying Weiss is going to be the one to do that, but I would be very interested if something like that happened eventually.
I think it would be very cool, because we also said this before, or I said this before about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, where that's another series that has been mired in rights issues, legal issues, because of, like, it's JoJo's, they have like the band names, in there.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
So we got part 5, and it's like, oh hey, we got part 5, and then when part 3 and part 6 came out in Japanese, I bought the Japanese version of those cards, assuming that we would never, ever, ever get those in English because of rights, and I was proven wrong.
Yeah.
So, again, another show that I'm very surprised that we got because of legality issues, and here it is.
Yeah. I'm definitely going to have to go back and watch it again. Especially after you showing me this, and I'm going to be trying to test play this myself, and just going to be mucking around with it. It looks fun. It looks like one of those things I would like to learn. And so I will more than likely end up doing so, much to Joe's dismay. But I think we've covered basically everything for this then. We pointed out the weaknesses. We pointed out other things that it just has to be mindful of. Other things that are in the set, but they're not running for certain reasons. So definitely keep an eye out for this deck. It may not run as rampant as Chainsaw Man did in Springfest, but it will still be shown, most definitely. I'm eagerly anticipating that and want to see how well this does. But good luck. Philly does not have to worry about this, so y'all have fun with that. Continue with Shauna.
I would also, just to plug it a little bit, I would also make sure you go watch the base damage breakdown of this set if you want to try to find some variations, some tech pieces for this deck. Go check out the breakdown that Cade did for this set. That
Thank you so
should
much.
Be up before the time this deck profile comes out. I'm not exactly sure when.
Yeah, this will be out. That should have come out Tuesday. This will be out. This should be coming out on Thursday. So we're gonna get that. Also, you sent me a link for Encore decks for this set as well. I will post that in the description, as well as you said there was a video of like showing gameplay and everything. I'll put the link for that.
Yes, there is
as well.
I sent you the Encore decks link, the Twitter link, for the actual deck profile, which remember this is a premium booster, so all
Yes.
the art's gonna be different because he's using it maxed out.
Yeah, I had to make certain I was grabbing the right climaxes because of that.
There is the vlog from Weiss Nationals. It's like 3 hours long, so there's some gameplay there of this deck winning. So I don't know if you want to link that down in the description. And
I'm willing to toss all of it in there.
More stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And don't forget about all the Freya memes that I was posting too.
Absolutely. We gotta be it's not September, but we will definitely be participating in the memes.
Party hard.
Party hard always. And with that, thank you all very much for watching. Thank you very much to Soup for helping me break this down, because you pointed out some stuff that I wouldn't have thought about at all.
Sir, that is NoSoupFaU2 resident base damage Macross Delta expert or something like that.
I'm gonna have to change your title in the Discord now. It's gonna be great.
Oh God. Okay, now I have to commit to this bit.
We just have to commit, but feel free to like and subscribe, all that shenanigans if you want. Hey, honestly, we were talking about the Discord. If you want to join the Discord, link for that will also be in the description. And with that, we will be signing off. Thank you once again, good sir, and we will see you on the flip side. Peace.
See you guys later.